Hello friend, how are you doing today? My name is Mary, this is Happily Ever Esch, and today we are doing a very quick Friday reads because I need to scoot out the door in like 10 minutes. So let's just hop on into this. I want to chat about everything that I finished up this week, what I've been reading this week, and then what I plan to read this weekend and going on to next week. So let's just hop on into it. Hope you're having a great Friday, a great weekend ahead of you. And let's talk about the books. So I finally finished Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I did do a weekend vlog where I finished this up. It'll be linked down below if you're interested, as well as pretty much finishing up the Women's Hour, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But this is quite a chunk of a book. It's almost 600 pages. It's a very slow character study following really two main characters, Efemelu and Obinze, who meet and fall in love and have a young romance in their home country of Nigeria, and they both end up going their separate ways, and it's kind of them coming back together. But there's a lot of social commentary. There's a lot of like humor in this book, especially reading following Efemelu and kind of the things she runs into in America. The commentary is biting, but there's always just a lot of like warmth and understanding for the human condition, I think, as well. There were parts of this book that took my breath away, that just, almost brought me to tears, but in the end, it kind of fell a little flat for me. It might have partially been my fault because I took so much space in between it, but I always fell right back into the narrative, right back into these characters' lives quite easily. I feel like for what was building, the end kind of just fell. It just fell a little flat for me, but it also felt very realistic in a lot of ways to life, and I think that this is such a realistic piece of fiction. I definitely think Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is a wonderful writer. I think she draws her characters so well, and I can't wait to try her short story collection because I think that I'm going to really get on with it just based off of her writing and kind of the way she creates characters and scenes in this book. I think I'm gonna love her short stories. So that's gonna be my next Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie that I pick up. I'm gonna start keeping my eyes peeled at bookstores and thrift stores for it because I think that I'm gonna love it. And I think that collection is called The Thing Around Your Neck. So I was very glad that I finally got this piece of really, it feels like a modern classic to me at this point. It's so well acclaimed, a very modern classic. But yes, I think that this is going to be an important piece of literature as we move forward, and so I'm glad that I've got it under my belt and have read it. So yes, I definitely think that this is worth the 600 pages to get in, even if I didn't end up being in love with it. It still felt very worth my time. Alright, and then I also finished The Women's Hour, The Great Fight to Win the Vote by Elaine Weiss. I left my physical copy at my in-laws on accident. Whoops, I also left my copy of Esperanza Rising there, so that book will not be read, at least in the next couple weeks, because I don't have it with me. But I was listening to this on audiobook, so I did finish it up. I absolutely adored this. Elaine Weiss makes this thrilling. She kind of puts you in the action of the 4 to 6 weeks surrounding the ratification of the 19th Amendment in Tennessee, which was the 36th state to do that. It was amazing. I loved learning about all the different players. I also love that Elaine Weiss didn't shy away from like the issues within the movement to get women the right to vote, especially the issues of race. Tennessee being a southern state, there was so many issues of just racism, very blatant and disgusting racism, and a lot of talk about not wanting to give women the right to vote because that would allow Black people to vote, and it would basically bolster the argument to allow Black individuals to vote. I'm just glad that she explored race in that way because I think it would have been really easy to shy away from that. But you can't talk about any civil rights without talking about race because it's so ingrained in America and in the way that politics have worked for hundreds and hundreds of years. I think this is a wonderful book, kind of looking at that intersection and seeing why we still have so much voter suppression in the United States today. At first, I kind of had to like pay a lot of attention and go back and write down stuff from my physical copy, like names, and trying to keep everyone straight just because I wasn't familiar with a lot of the players in this book. But after I did that, it was smooth reading, but I did enjoy having the physical copy and the audiobook. Sorry if that was really rambly. I haven't really sat down and like thought out or written out notes on my opinions, but those are kind of my initial thoughts. I really enjoyed it, gave it 4.5 stars. It was a great read, and I'm really glad I celebrated the ratification of that amendment with reading some nonfiction about it. And then for a book I finished this week, The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. I picked this up at Goodwill, and it was just sitting in my car, and I had a few minutes to spare, and I ended up sitting down and I like gobbled up 50 pages like in, you know, less than half of an hour, and I just continued to read it. It was a fun time. It wasn't anything like earth-shattering. It's not going to be a favorite book, but I will say I think I tend to enjoy slow burn romance more, and this, I wouldn't really call it a slow burn romance, and it's a little more explicit than I tend to read, and so I do think that's something to kind of note. And also I felt like the characters, like apart from their relationship, fell a little flat for me. I don't know, like I didn't feel like they were super well developed, just kind of like who they were. So some of the things that they didn't make sense to me because I just didn't feel like I really knew like them as characters, but they had great chemistry. It was a lot of fun. I loved that there's like a lot of travel in this, and yeah, there's a lot of really fun elements about this, and I will probably look into some of her other books in this The Wedding Date series. Overall, it was a fun read. I think it was a strong 3.5 star read for me. And like I said, I just ate this book up. I read it so quickly, and it's fun to have, you know, get sucked into a story like that. So I picked it up at the Goodwill for a couple dollars. All right, and for what I'm currently reading, I'm listening to Miracle Creek by Angie Kim on audiobook. I'm about smack dab in the middle of this right now. I'm loving this. This is a courtroom drama, but we're also unfurling the mystery. The premise of the story is that there is a submarine, it's called H-Bot, and there is a therapy that people go into this submarine and they get extra oxygen. It's like pressurized, and they can breathe more oxygen, which is supposed to be very healing to cells in your body, because like the more oxygen, the more repairing of the cells. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, so don't quote me on that, but that's kind of like the main premise. This blows up, and the mother of a boy who has autism is being charged with blowing this submarine up, and so we're kind of following this along. Angie Kim is a trial, or was a trial lawyer. I don't know if she's still practicing law, so she has a lot of knowledge, which I really appreciate. This does feel very realistic of the judicial system, so I really like that about this. I also love that there's this idea that everyone kind of has secrets, everyone has things that they're hiding, and even if it doesn't make them guilty of a crime, like, is there still, I guess, responsibility, like culpability? Yeah, this has been a lot of fun to read about a murder trial. But yeah, it's been fun, it's been interesting. There's also some really gorgeous writing in this. I've underlined and went back to my physical copy because I'm listening to it on audiobook, and underlined some things that have been just gorgeously written. I hope she writes more. I'm already like itching for her next courtroom drama, but yeah, this, I get why it gets a lot of acclaim. I'm really enjoying this one. For my physical book, I started yesterday, and I'm also really loving Our Souls at Night by Kent Haruf. I read Plain Song last year. It was one of my favorite books, and this is really beautiful as well. The first chapter brought me to tears. He just has this bare bones, sparse writing, but like something about it just like envelops you, and like it doesn't seem like it should be that good, but it is. And so I'm already 60 some pages into this. It's a short little guy, you know, about 40% of the way through, and I really think I'll finish this tonight. It's like the cover, there's just something so quiet and lyrical and bare bones and lovely and nostalgic about it. Gosh, I think I'm gonna love all of Kent Haruf's work. I've just been like stopped in my tracks a couple times and just like, you take a deep breath. It like, this book feels like air. I love it already. All right, and for what I will be picking up next, I know I'll be reading this Tinderland by William Kent Kruger with Amanda over at The Curly Reader, and Bree over at Call Me After Coffee might be joining us if she can squeeze it in, but I'm really excited about this. He's another author that just, it feels like air. There's something nostalgic and like enveloping about it, but so simplistic and mundane. It's just the kind of writing that I adore. And this, I've heard nothing but great, wonderful things. It is quite of a chunk, but I'm excited to buddy read this and have someone to chat about. And then 2 other Book of the Month Club picks that I hope to get to sooner rather than later. I have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I don't want to let this sit too long. I was so excited when it came, and I need to get to this month for sure. But I also just got my Book of the Month pick for August, and this is The Death of Vivek Oju by Okweke Emezi. I still got that wrong. I like Googled it, but I'm excited about this one, and it's way shorter than I thought. So I don't know, I might pick this one up before The Vanishing Half, but I'm excited for both. So I'm excited to get to all of these Book of the Month Club picks. So what are you reading this weekend? What have you been enjoying? I'd love to chat about it down below. I'm running late. I've got to go. Have a great rest of your day and weekend, and I will see you sometime next week for a new video. Bye.